Welcome back, guys. My name is Austin from awfulmedia.com, and this is part 7 of the Inventory System tutorial series in Unity 3D. In this part, we're going to create a remove item method, a very basic remove item method. So it's not going to be, it's going to be pretty simple. You're going to be able to find an item first of all, and then it's going to remove the first item that matches the ID that you sent it. So it's not going to remove the item that you use or anything like that. So if you want to set up a use item method and you want it to remove the item from the specific slot that you use the item from, in your use item method, make sure you pass it the index for the slot of which you clicked the item, and then just empty out that slot. But we're not going to go doing that because it's easy to do, but there's no reason to do that for now. So we're going to set up a simple remove item method. So I'm going to do a void remove item, and it's going to take a single parameter as well, which is the ID. And then I'm just going to go through all my inventory items as usual, using a for loop, because of for each we're going to be modifying an item in this loop. And if we modify an item and it checks for an item with a for each, it will give us an error. So I'm going to do I equals 0 and I is less than inventory dot count. Oop. Inventory I equals 0 inventory. I don't know what was the problem there. Dot count and then I plus plus. And now I'm going to say if an item in this inventory is equal to the ID that we sent it. So I'm going to be doing if inventory i.item ID is equal to ID. Then we know we found the right one, so we want to go ahead and break out of the loop. So I'm going to do a break. So we stop looking, we found one. So this will be using the first item it finds that matches that ID. Again, very basic, but it does the job, at least for this inventory. Then I'm going to say inventory I is equal to a new item. So all we've done is found the slot that contains that item, and then wiped it out by replacing it with an empty item. That way we don't remove the slot in the inventory, we just populate it with an empty item, just like we do up here with the new items. So that should remove an item from the inventory. To test this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a remove item. And the item that I'm going to remove is going to be item 0. Which I believe is the white shirt, so we should have an inventory with just an amulet in it, if this works. Go into here, hit I, and we have just an amulet. Notice it removed the item from that slot. And that's exactly what we want it to do. Now, just to show you an example, if I was to add another one right here, and then come down here and remove this break, it'll remove both items that are that ID. So I'll have two empty slots. But with this break in, it'll just remove that single item. So I'll have one shirt and one amulet. So we don't want it to remove all items with that ID, just the first one that it finds. So that's good, that works. Now let's go ahead and get started with our tooltip. Now the tooltip is going to consist of, let's see, I think I'm going to break it up into two methods, and we'll check to see if we're hovering over a slot that contains an item, and then if we are, we will call the method that will generate the content of the tooltip, and then we will set a boolean that should show the tooltip. I'm trying to remember all this in my head, and then we will draw the tooltip in a box. And that should do it for now. So we know that we have an item found inside of this condition here, so it can go within this. And now we need to check to see if the mouse is over this slot. Okay, so the way we can do that is by using the mouse position. But when you're working in GUI, you don't want to use the input class. You want to go through the event class. And this will handle all of the input for your GUI elements. And the event class is quite easy to use, so you might be surprised. But I'll just go through event, It's event class, and I'm looking for the current event. So the event that it is on right this moment. And then I can look for a specific event, and the event that I'm looking for is mouse position. Okay, so we have that position. Now this doesn't do anything for us as it is. I just wanted to show you how the event class worked. So I could look for different things like let's see. We could look for different buttons. We could look for different we could check to see if it is a key or if it is the mouse. If this event relates to a mouse event or if it relates to a keyboard event. We could look for a specific key code. Lots of cool stuff in here. But we are just looking for the position of the mouse. So the first thing I want to do though is I want to grab the slot rect, which is the slot rectangle position for the slot that we are looking for here. And there's a method for a rectangle that's going to be very useful for us, and that is contains. And this method will take a position and see if that position ends up within the rectangle position. So if I pass it an X and a Y, it will tell me, yeah, this X and Y intersects with my rectangle that the method is called from. And the X and Y that we're going to pass it is the event.current.mouse position. So now this is saying, yeah, within the slot rectangle, the mouse position lies. And that's exactly what we want to know. So now we know the mouse, simply said, is hovering over the slot. So if that becomes true, I want to say show the tooltip. So we want to set up a couple of variables. The first one being a private boolean for show tooltip. Pretty simple. If it's set to true, draw the tooltip. Set to false, do not draw the tooltip. Another private string, and this will be the tooltip itself, so the contents of the tooltip. And we will reset this tooltip each time, and then just add more content to it based on the item. That'll make sense here in a moment, I hope. So if this is true, show tooltip should be true. Okay, but now we need to generate the tooltip based on the item that we are hovering over. And I'm going to set up another method to do this. We'll have two methods, once again, to handle the tooltip. But the first one will actually be a string. And this will be, I'll call it create tooltip. If I can get this right here. There we go. So this will take a parameter of item. Okay, so we can pass it the item from this because we know we're on an item that exists when we're hovering over it. So then I can say create tooltip and pass it inventory I or slot I. Slot I might make more sense, so we'll do slot I. So now this has the item that it requires. I can then go through and grab item.item name and populate the tooltips with all of the information from that item. But first we need to set up the string. And we know we have a string called tooltip that we're going to populate with that information. And then all we have to do is return the tooltip because this is a string method. Okay, so tooltip, we're going to set it to a default of nothing first. That way, whenever we do what we're about to do, we won't just tack on more information. We'll actually have a blank tooltip and then we'll add information to it. So I'll say tooltip plus equals. And that's what I mean. So before, if I was to keep it without resetting it, it would just keep adding and adding and adding because we're going to be adding information to it. Well, when I think about it, we could just say tooltip is equal to... What would be wrong with that? So we could try that. Tooltip. So tooltip is equal to, we'll just do an item.item name just for testing. And that should work for us. But now we need to set the tooltip to be to false whenever, say, a tooltip doesn't exist or whenever we're not hovering over that tooltip. And the way we're going to try to do this at first is outside of slot rect contains. Let's see. Let's actually check to see. I know what we can do. We can set, I don't know what that was. We can set to see in our onGUI here, we can set tooltip every time onGUI is called to be equal to a blank string. And then we can check to see if that string is blank. Because if we are hovering over it, we're going to be creating a tooltip. So every time we're hovering over it, we're going to be overriding tooltip. So it starts out blank every time OnGUI is called, but we will be overriding that with our tooltip here. So I'll return tooltip, and then I'll say tooltip is equal to whatever the result of this is. Okay, so that should do what I want it to, and every time it sets it to that, and that should be nice. So now what I want to do, I know this ain't going to work completely, but we'll go ahead and get some visual on the screen here. So I want to say if show tooltip in OnGUI, if show tooltip is true, we will draw a GUI dot box. We'll do a new rect. We'll fill this rect out here in a second, and the string we want though is tooltip. But the rectangle position has to be the mouse position. Okay, so we want, you know how we have the tooltip, we want it to follow the mouse as we move it around. I mean, you could have it spawn in a certain location in screen space if you want, like, off to the right of the inventory, and every time you hover over a mouse it just repopulates that with the information from the item. I've seen plenty of inventories that do that, and those always work well, but we're going to be doing it based on the mouse position. So we can go through the event class one more time and say current again and get the mouse position, but we can go a bit deeper than that and grab an X and a Y coordinate. So I can say .x, and then I could do the same thing, event.current.mouseposition.y. So that'll give me the X mouse position and the Y mouse position, as rect requires an X, a Y, a width, and a height. So we have 200 by 200 just for the width and height just for now. We may want to make the height of the box dependent upon the height of the content within the string. And if we can do that here in a second if we need to do that. I'm sure we will need to do that, so we'll do that here in a moment though. And then we're passing it tooltip. So now what happens if I try to do it? What errors have I created? Oh, I forgot I did that. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, the name slot does not exist in the current context. Where was I at here? Oh, slots, not slot. There we go. And that should work for us now. Hit I, and we start moving that item. Hover over this, and it works. We have Amulet of Prayers, hover off, and just the string goes away. So what we need to do is to check to see if there is a tooltip. If there's not a tooltip, hide the whole tooltip box. There's that, there's that, there's that, there's that. Okay, so that kind of works, but kind of not as well. So the way we can get rid of that problem, because I can say if, now outside of where we're checking for that, I don't guess it really matters in this case. No, it wouldn't really matter. I'll say if tooltip is equal to nothing, if it's just a blank string, then I want to set show tooltip to be false. Okay? So if there is no string to show, don't even show the box, don't even show anything. And that works good. That's nice, I like that. Okay, so now what we want to do, or what I want to do, is I want to style this and show some stats. Basic stuff. It's going to be completely based on your game, obviously. And I said two methods. The second method was going to be to store, or to call our GUI box and our calculation of the height of the box. But we can just do it all in OnGUI just like it is, and that'll be fine. But really quickly, I want to set the box for this to a particular style, and that style would be skin.getStyle. We'll set it to match our slot. What was it called? I don't remember. Slot? Slot? Was it slot? I can't remember. Yeah, but that looks horrible. That looks horrible. We'll make a new graphic for... Well, what I think I did in the last one was I actually set the tooltip background to be equal to whatever the background of the inventory was, I think? Or no, did I use a slot? I don't know. My last one just looked better, period. So, I don't know. We may not get into too much of the pretty stuff, but I'm just showing you how I would go about doing it. I would just do it through the GUI style as well and change the background of the box to style the tooltip. But now we need some padding of some kind. So what we could do is we could actually set up our own GUI style for our tooltip. So I could set up one for tooltip, and then we could go into our GUI style and do our own stuff. Yeah, I know. So go back into materials, go to skin, and we'll create another style. So I'll do 2, hide slot, go to this one, and set up one for tooltip. And now I can up the padding to like, we'll do 5 all around, so to get the text off the left and top and bottom and right when we do the GUI calculations. And then the font, we'll set it to the default font that we have here. If you have a custom font, go ahead and use that. The font size, I don't know. We'll do 20 to see how that looks. I want to align it to the upper left is actually good. Word wrap, we'll use word wrap so that the text will wrap around if it reaches the end. Rich text is what we want. And position, I think we're all good on all that. Now I want to set the background is set to that, and the border should be the same as well. It is. So now if I click play, hit I. Now we have, well, the text is too big, obviously, but the padding is also not enough. This is completely based on your game, though, so just do whatever you want to here. I'll do 16. And there we go. That's ugly, but that worked for us. Now we can change the color of the font individually inside of our string, and Unity uses a pretty cool markup system, so I can come to where the font or the string is being generated, wherever that is, if I can find it here. Okay, here we are right here. So I want to set this string to be equal to a color. So I want to concatenate the item name onto a, actually can't remember what the markup style is. Is it color? Color is equal to, we'll do FFF. We'll just try it all the way out there. And then we'll end the color. This may be completely wrong. I can't remember. Then I'll just end the color. Is that the correct way of doing this markup? Apparently it is. So it changed it to white. That's what we wanted. That's good. So now what I want to do though is I want to go down a line and then show the description of the item. So to break a line down, to make a line break, we would do a backward slash followed by an N, and that would give us a line break down. So now I could come back onto the end of this here and concatenate a bit more. Say I want to get the item.item description, and that would do that for us on the next line. Click I, hover over it, and there we have Amulet of Prayers followed by an Amulet Enchanted by Prayers. Obviously, well not obviously, but I think I should break another line down. Just like that, and then we'll go down a bit farther. And it's still completely ugly, so I think I'll change the color. I'm going to go to color picker. And I'm going to pick out a couple colors here. I want the item name to be something, I don't know, let's see. Let's grab this color, pass it in there, and then the color for the item description will be different as well, so I'll concatenate a color on here. It'll be color is equal to, I don't know, so we'll pick one out here in a second, and then a bit more here, and then in this color. And we want this description to be what? Maybe a, I'll try on F2. Two. Restart that. And that is completely ugly. I just need to change the background of this, so we will change the background of the tooltip to something not terrible. But you get the idea of how to do this now, right? So if I wanted to pass it to the any other attribute, like the value attribute or any stats or anything like that, you would do the same thing. Just go through the item, grab it, place it where you want to place it, make the color whatever you want the color to be, and not make it as ugly as mine is. So that'll do it for this part, I think. I don't think we will worry about the prettiness of this because it is completely based on your tastes and your game theme. But we do have it working. It's just ugly. But say I want, hold on really quickly, say I wanted to push the tooltip box off of the mouse cursor a bit. What I would do is I just come in here to where I'm drawing the box, go to the X here, and I'll push it off by like 15 to the right. And then that should get me, get it off the mouse cursor there. And also give me 9 frames per second. What happened there? I have no idea what happened there. But there we go. So now it's off the mouse cursor, off to the right. And what is there to do next? I think next we will either I think we'll work on the drag and drop, because that is the most complex part of this inventory, so that will be probably the most difficult part, at least for me to explain. So thank you for watching, guys. My name is Austin. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this. If you like the video, leave it a like. It really does help a lot. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you found a mistake, think you can do it better, leave me a comment and show me what you mean, because I do appreciate those. All of you guys that do that, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm sure stuff that I've written is not the most efficient, and it can be done better. So let me know. I'm always willing to find out different ways of doing things. Check out the website, awfulmedia.com. Have a question, head over to the forum on awfulmedia.com. My name is Austin, and I will see you next time.